Hello and welcome back. We are here continuing our France run. Last episode we had a bit of a pop-off getting the effects of, I think this was the episode where we started to really get in the migration. This has been kind of what's been going on, but then China left our market. Big sad. So we're not happy about that. We are reaching an inflection point as well in the game where we are running out of labor, like entirely. Most of these peasants and unemployed are in Beijing, and we can't necessarily build infinitely tall in Beijing, nor do we necessarily want to. We would actually prefer the Beijing pops to emigrate and come to, France, and then become good little French pops who can empower our petite bourgeoisie, which is actually quite strong in terms of our unique interest group. Getting plus loyalists from standard of living increases is pretty nice. If we can make these guys happy at some point, we're going to try and do that. And so this is kind of what's going on. But we are since we are running out of labor, we're actually going to start running lower and lower taxes, or try and do this instead of just increasing construction, because in a lot of places, we have a bunch of buildings that are like built out and then just can't employ up, and so we're also gonna make these swaps. But since we are in this sort of situation, it's an interesting inflection point in terms of the economy. We're transitioning to a sort of late game economy in this point in time. Usually, it depends on how much labor you have, but GDP wise, usually it starts to happen as you approach 400 million, let's say for lower pop countries. Or maybe it's like 5x your GDP in terms of relative to your population, something like this is maybe an okay heuristic, but we're reaching that point. We're not reaching the point where we're causing unemployment from equilibrium level prices aren't super depressed yet, but that will also cause other problems. But we have, for this kind of run, the goal of hitting 570 million GDP kind of relatively quickly, playing somewhat themey, going for North Africa and stuff. South Africa would have been much better, and we are only going for it now. But then also trying to play relatively tight. We did go for Beijing, this type of stuff, and trying to grow the GDP. We incorporated our organ, so now it's nice and long. And so this is kind of what we'll be doing, and we'll probably be lowering taxes relatively soon. I know it looks like we're losing money, but our credit line is increasing faster than the credit we're accumulating, so we're A-okay, especially if we plan on making the petite bourgeoisie happy at some point, so where we'll get the minus 7% loan interest, which will be, pretty nice because we are paying a decent chunk on the interest. Alright, we've hit a point where we're kind of making money, or have been for a little bit, swaying back and forth in between two, but we are increasing our line of credit as we construct more and more buildings, and so I think we're going to take this and we're going to decrease the taxes again, which of course will cause us to run a huge deficit, but at the same time this will stimulate the GDP, because instead of extracting the money from the economy in the form of taxes, now our pops have more money to spend on consumer goods, and this overall will stimulate the economy and will also give us more opportunities for more profitable buildings, with which to build with our construction, as our limit starts to become more on the basis of pops. It also will increase standard of living, and this increasing standard of living will increase migration attraction by a decent chunk, and so this will also help out on the axes in which we are having a little bit of difficulty. And you can see that the stimulation of the economy, the economy hitched up relatively quickly there, and the stimulation in turn increased our income. We're not making money at this point, but we're not losing 570k as we were when we initially turned on the tax, or turned down the tax rather. Okay, very, very nice. We do see we can invite into the customs union Great Qing by giving them an obligation, and we can just straight up invite Sardinia Piedmont, so we'll invite them, and then we will invite Great Qing by owing them an obligation. We don't really care about having to enter a defensive pact with them or this type of thing, but we do want to take a look at one of their states. Let's take a look at the most populous one. This is while they are in the Spanish market currently, and after they say yes, let's see how the migration changes. They accept the offer to be in the customs union, and so does Sardinia Piedmont, and we have a native uprising. Oh no. So let's see how this changes over the course of a week. Once we get to the next week, eventually we will get to the next week. and minus 75k. And so this mass exodus is going to come in and help solve our population problems. We'll also assign to that front there, not a very big deal, but this is going to greatly increase. If we click show more, we see we already have 142,000 Han, and if we look, we see Mahayana is representing 271,000, and these are all the Chinese pops, and we see that there's a differential here of around 130k. This means that the pops are getting converted to French pops or some other accepted pop. I'm not sure if it converts, if this is a primary, if this is one of our primary cultures. I'm not sure if it is. It might just convert to the most populous primary culture, but we see that we're getting a ton of migration, right? And we're getting it in a ton of states, and this is going to help us, to keep things, more profitable, because it's going to provide us with a bunch of labor. We see that, they're kind of flooding in, and they're taking peasant jobs. Unemployment is staying insignificant. Now, if we fully expand out, as I think we've done here, on a lot of the livestock, we won't have room for peasants, but that's not the biggest deal. Getting up to level 51 is kind of a big deal, and it is pretty nice to be getting the maximum economies of scale throughput bonus. So we unlock corporate management here, +1 max number of companies, but also this minus urbanization per urban center is a little bit of a new thing. We're almost done enforcing there, but now we can slot in another company, and now this does seem to be a company setup I think is pretty good for France at this current juncture. In the first update of the open beta, it'll be exciting to see if after the second update what happens. Now we will be getting throughput and construction speed on all this iron and wood, and so we have very nearly all resources. We have everything but oil accounted for, and oil would be a good shout because it does give migration attraction. We'd maybe want to find an oil company specifically and look to conquer it or something here, but just kind of quickly going through this, we are getting a total of 40% throughput on the rails. We're getting 10% here from the John Cockerell, another 10% up here, and then on steel we are getting 5% throughput here, another 20 here, and then another marginal 10 here for 35% on the steel, because if you have two companies, you only get 1.5 bonus, and so we will be getting less, but then we're also getting 5%, and then we are getting 10% state construction efficiency. We are getting plus industrialist approval, which is actually pretty nice, for keeping these guys happy, although they're real happy right now, because Air Feminist got what he wanted, and so this is all feeling pretty good, in regards to this, and I'm excited to see if this, we're going to let it go. Well, we're going to first pick a tech, but then we're going to let it go maybe a week and see what happens. I think we're going to go for rotary valve engine. We are running out of labor. We probably can turn on rotary valve pretty well and just look to go kind of make a straight line for electrical compressors and or compression ignition. I think this one will be pretty good. I don't think we want to necessarily go tier 5 into macroeconomics here. Of course, elevators is actually a good shout. Let's actually do elevators here. Actually, no. Let's do rotary valve into elevators. I think I like this. Well, actually, no, let's just do elevators. I can't decide. We'll do rotary valve. There we go. And so that is that all set up now, and let's just peel a couple weeks off and see what happens to our GDP, if it keeps going up or if not. We're going to put some wood in the queue just to kind of have something going. Let's just sort by can quick expand and just do something like this. Just making sure that our queue doesn't drain out while we're kind of watching. But we're at 127, it's spiking up now. Of course, it's been cranking up just this entire time. And, it's moving up at a decent clip, I think, off the back of the throughput. I guess it's stalling out after gaining a few million. But importantly, all that wood will now get produced way faster. We're getting throughput on it. We're also getting, construction speed. And so I think this will feel pretty good. And we are approaching the goal of 570 million or 20x our starting GDP. So we are starting to get to the point where our credit line is increasing at a fairly solid clip, faster than, our negative balance is really disaffecting us. So we're going to decrease taxes yet again here, and we are going to set in and see if we can manage to increase. This one might not be manageable, but we can just increase taxes if it becomes a problem, and we are going to try and stimulate the economy here. We are expecting to see this number go down as our GDP goes up, and also we are expecting to be pretty quickly here approaching this 570 figure, you know, as a result of this decreased taxes, increasing consumer spending everywhere. And so, it's a little bit sticky, so this might not be, I don't think we can maintain minus 750k. If the GDP does not increase by enough to pull this in the direction we need it to be kind of pulled in, I don't think that this is necessarily sustainable. And so, but there we go, 570. We did it. Mission accomplished. We got the GDP up to 20x the starting total in about, what is this, 40 years. So that seems pretty solid. I mean, it seems outstanding for 1.5, where economies overall are relatively slowed, and the fact that we didn't fully min-max the run. You can see our literacy right now is pretty good. And, you know, here we have the POPs are cranking up, the SOL is cranking up. Notably, these two are, like, correlated, because when they were in the Spanish market, the problem is actually the Spanish POPs don't accept them, and we accept their peoples, and so that's why their peoples are leaving. And really, it's just very, very strong when you can get China in the customs union, as well as anyone else. You know, getting to the break point, it feels pretty good here. We do not have an obligation with these guys yet to try and transfer them, and so that'll be nice once we get there. Maybe we want to rival to see if we can get anyone else in the customs union. I don't think we want to rival any of these cats, though, so we'll just continue on for now. For some reason here, Persia actually has enormous literacy, which is very, very curious. Let's take a look at, let's take a look at their laws and see, maybe, maybe there's an explanation for this. So they do have education at level 3, and what type of education do you have, my friend? You have religious schools at level 3. Man, that's just like, is their SOL just super high? What's going on here? Like, in terms of relative to the rest of the world, we don't normally see that. So let's actually just look at SOL as well and see if Persia is one of these top boys here. So we are here at number 2, right after Sambas. I don't see Persia here. Of course, I don't have eyes, but that is very, very curious that, you know, they have such a high literacy rate. I haven't seen that before. That's very interesting. So we have a new election brewing. The Republican Party formed with the Union of Rights, the Armed Forces, and the Petite Bourgeoisie, which is nice. We do want the Petite Bourgeoisie to actually get some votes, and we see that, you know, the people who are polling pretty well is the Agrarian and Farmer Party. Not a huge fan of the unification of these two parties, because what we want is we kind of want, you know, we want to be able to do this and have it be legitimate. Or at least relatively legitimate, and so we would really like the Democratic Alliance to win the election, and it doesn't look like they have a very good shot here. You know, as things stand currently, it looks like it's mainly going to the other parties. You know, the Union of Rights barely has any clout relative. Yeah, like this just looks particularly bad for, you know, projected votes, 63% versus 10%. You know, Union of Rights getting 17% is decent, but hopefully we get some events to really kneecap the Agrarian and Farmer Party momentum, because we would love to have Democratic Alliance win, because we have to keep whoever's in government, and this means, particularly with the trade unionists, they are completely incompatible with the industrialists unless they have like the same ideology, and anarchist in general is not that compatible, so it is causing some problems on our side. Really wish we had parliamentary instead. So we just barely pipped the 7% loan interest rate happiness on our petite bourgeoisie here, and so it looks like it's going to go away, but just to be clear, you know, this has led to like a decrease of about 30 to 40k in terms of the amount of interest we were paying. We really want to get the second happiness one though, because this is really good, and I am a little bit tempted, you know, to go down to lower taxes. Hear me out. You know, this isn't real, it can't hurt us, except it probably will. You know, do something like this, and then try and pass a law that they like. The problem, other than, you know, going for maybe mass conscription, which I guess we could do, the problem is that, you know, we actually don't really want these guys' laws too much, and we have a ton of, you know, radicals right now. This will give us -5 on a whole bunch of these guys, and maybe, but like, -5 to, so from 13 to 8, from 3 to -2, maybe this is alright, and we can go back to rights of assembly, you know, with the aid of the petite bourgeoisie, Or we can, try and take a look. I think we're 1 year off of being able to invite guys, though. And if we invite a radical and put him in charge of of these guys, I think that'll be fairly good for us as well. We just can't invite a radical right now. And although we don't necessarily want radicals, but here, let's show available. We can invite one of these guys. So, for example, this guy, invite him, put him in charge of the party. And if we put him in charge of the party, then he will, allow us to probably have a better bonus on these guys, because the jingoist he supports we have one endorsed from pro-army and a double endorsed from colonial exploitation, right? And with a radical, if we had someone with the radical ideology, we would have a one endorsed from presidential republic, a double endorsed from universal suffrage, a double endorsed from protected speech, and a double endorsed from guaranteed libs. And so we would have an additional, 5 approvals, something like this. And so I think this is probably what we want to be doing. All right, so we are currently battling to open up, Japan's market here, battling with Russia, although it's really not too much of a battle. The game is progressing ungodly slow at this point. So this is going to be pretty close to the end for us here, as it's, several seconds for every Monday, but we maybe want to do a little bit of electrical stuff. It is pretty tedious currently at this current version of 1.5, and I'm hoping it's a little bit better, when it gets updated in the second update, which probably will be out by the time this video is out, but we did want to do a little bit of a thing, which was we wanted to put the petite bourgeoisie in government, at least temporarily, and then invite an agitator, who now our cooldown is done. Now we could invite this guy, and this guy's more popular, but he's also 51. This guy's 36, and he had some modifiers that are pretty good for increasing interest group political strength and pop attraction, which is kind of good relative to what we want to do. So we're going to put that guy in, and then we are going to promote him to government over the other gentleman. So we're going to grant leadership here, and then he will stop being an agitator. He will start being a ruler or leader, and now he is loyal plus 15, and so now we gain access to this plus 50% increased loyalists from standard of living increases. If we come, and we're going to slot them out of government, of course, because we do want to have the super righteous. Now, if we come in here and we look at our modifiers, we can probably track down exactly how much loyalists we are getting and where exactly they are coming from standard living increases. And so this is, we know we're going to have some from our, also minus loan interest rate. We have minus 82%, 7% from the petite bourgeoisie. The more of these modifiers you stack, the more useful they are, because if we're on laissez-faire and great power, that's minus 75%, right? This represents a 25% reduction in our payments from the petite bourgeoisie being happy, just not even being powerful, but it only represents that while we have great power and laissez-faire, right? Because if we go from paying 25% to paying 18%, it's actually close to a third. Anyways, continuing on here. Legitimacy enactment time. Let's see, we're looking for loyalists. Loyalist generation down here, and we're coming down. We're gonna find it and come back. Okay, so we have the base value plus 108%. So this is, to us, is representing, if we're at 150% without this petite bourgeoisie bonus, this represents a 33% increase in our generation of loyalists. We're getting 50% from petite bourgeoisie, master of the house. We're getting 33% from righteous government, and we are getting 5% per level of home affairs, of which we have 5 for a total of 25%. And so we will generate an enormous amount of loyalists. Now, we haven't even been farming this bonus for a while, but it will continue to go up at quite a good clip here, and so we will be seeing, probably getting to the trade unions bonus reasonably quickly, and then we will be having full bonuses on everyone. I think that this modifier is actually pretty strong, but it's a bit hard to leverage because, you don't really lean into the petite bourgeoisie that often, but here we have, using our invitation to get the radical with whom, they agree with everything we're doing. We're going to generate a ton of loyalists, and then if this radical boyo dies,
guys, we'll probably still have the bonus because we will have generated so many loyal boyos, and we are in like decreased taxes mode. You know, we decreased taxes, it was fine enough. We're probably going to decrease taxes again in a second here. Not that it matters too much because we're going to be done pretty soon with this run, but I just wanted to, you know, kind of, we've been talking up this industrialist bonus, and I think there's probably some way for you to lean into these guys early and really get a lot of loyalists that makes sense. And so maybe this is something, a way to improve on this run as we've done it, is to lean into this guy a little bit more for the loyalists from standard living increases. With the game going so slow, this is going to be our last two wars. One is intervening on the side of the Portuguese aristocratic revolt, in exchange for them becoming a subject, kind of being the last, you know, expansion of the customs union, and the other one being annexing Transvaal here. And then we will have a nice big customs union kind of to round out the end of the run. And we are also getting on electricity, but I don't think that's really going to make too much of a factor here. But we are getting on the power plants, and by ending the run kind of soonish, we will avoid the tedium that is local prices of electricity, in addition to, you know, the micromanagement required for the railways, where we're like coming in here and we're doing this thing where we're like, oh, we're sorting by earnings, we're seeing what's earnings are bad, we're coming in here, we're crying, we're screaming, we're throwing up, we're trying to figure out how to add more buy orders in Wallonia, but we can't. But some of these we can add more buy orders, so we have to check each one individually and try and remember what's what and these types of things. And so, yeah, also 700 million on the GDP, so still cranking up quite well. And you know, the impending doom that is, you know, your end of the line of credit, that's not real. It can't hurt you because it doesn't exist. Alright, we finish up that war, and so now Portugal is a proper subject for us, and I think we're going to take a look at the sort of top-line metrics and all this type of stuff, and then end the run here. You know, in regards to our customs union, this is currently what we're working with. We have incorporated quite a bit. You know, New Africa's in there, that's Texas, which we own, and then, you know, what is it? Mexico is also in there with us. New Granada, we own Peru, Bolivia, and then both Argentina and Chile are in the customs union. We have secured basically all of Africa for ourselves, you know, mainly using reverse sways to cut the UK out from being able to colonize. There's some border gore down there. As a result of that, you know, we have most of North Africa, most of Italy is in our customs union. Also notably, inviting them to the customs union seems to be a good way to, you know, reduce their sphere. Spain had a really nice pop-off overall, you know, kind of this run. You can see we have a ton of trade routes with them, ton of trade routes with everyone, really. Portugal is now in the French market. Scandinavia is in the French market. Great Qing, Burma, parts of Dainam, which was brutalized by the British, is in there. We have a little territory ourselves. We got Punjab in there. If they were our subjects, we could do an interaction that would be interesting, because they actually do have closed borders. But if they were our subject, we could ask them to swap some stuff up, although they have to have people in government. So maybe a thing to do would be to bankroll them, get an obligation, and then hope to spike one of the events that can force them to put a certain person in government, something like this, and also just try and pass better laws from out from under them. I don't think we had much of Australia, but we did have the Dutch East Indies, and we had secured ourselves a really nice supply of oil, you know, for the late game. But I mean, this is the super swimming in terms of time and speed, and so we're not going to play any further into this. We got like 200 million over the goal. We've gained like over 300 million this episode alone. You know, SOL's cranking up. Literacy is pretty good. The Persia with the crazy literacy still gets me. Our population has cranked up. This is when we got multiculturalism, so it's like more than doubled since we got multiculturalism, which is fueling the beast. You know, our loyalists have been going up quite nicely. Big chunk of this is off the back of, roughly a third is off the back of the petite bourgeoisie interest group. You know, so that is kind of a nice one, where they are a little bit better from France, as well as the minus state penalties for turmoil and the wee-woos outside. You know, if this was doubled plus 100% loyalists from standard living increases, maybe playing around this in addition to playing off the industrialists is a reasonable thing to do. In terms of how we rank up in terms of the global sort of thing, here's our prestige, 7K versus 2.2K on the next one. GDP is close to 800 million versus, you know, Qing's 146, basically what it is at game start. And we can take a look at these graphs, and, you know, we're in decent shape. For all this, but Spain had a nice game. Where does Belgium kind of? Oh, we annexed Belgium. That's right. Never mind. Just kidding. Belgium has been doing really good on this patch, and so I was curious about them. But obviously, they didn't do very good in this game. You know, our SOL is the highest out of the world, and I think we have the. Oh, we don't even have the second highest pop. We have the third highest. But man, are we cranking it up? You know, and China's is slowly going down as a result of migration to us, as it were. You know. Russia relatively stagnant, actually losing pop over the course of the game. This is, you know, interesting given the pop changes they've been making and testing out. You see a lot of pops are relatively flat other than ours, except Spain. Spain's been cranking up. They have subjects, and so they might be siphoning off from their subjects. Interesting to see when, you know, people are doing well. As far as the company setup, I really do like this. We are using, let's see, all unique companies except for French steel. This is generic. The Compagnie de Mines and Zin, French words. This is in the French Low Counties, and is giving us railway building throughput and steel mills building throughput. John Cockerell's in the Belgium area is giving us railway building throughput, as well as, you know, construction speed and throughput on all these industries, which combined, you know, makes up a large proportion of our economy. These are 600 construction, I think, on the tool mills, and then I think 800 construction apiece on motor industries and steel. I'd have to double check this. Railway also 800 construction, and we do have a rather large amount of railways, but this 10% infrastructure on top of, you know, us getting a total of 40% throughput on railways makes it like 154%, you know, what is it, infrastructure output on the railways, plus additional, we're starting to swap over to electricity. We'll take a look at that in a second. State construction efficiency, this one seems pretty good, and it's giving us, you know, we're double dipping here, so this maybe isn't good in the hyper late game, because, you know, we're only getting another 10% throughput off the back of the French steel, because we already have one slotted in, and the Compagnie du Congo, which is giving us a throughput and construction speed on, you know, logging, rubber, and also iron mines. So all this feels pretty nice. Just taking a look at the electricity, important to emphasize, well, having a little bit of a shortage, but shortage aside, the 10% infrastructure is also going to be applying to the what we're getting from the urban center, which is roughly a third of or that's our tax capacity. I guess it's not a third, it's like 15%, I guess, maybe, of you know, our total infrastructure gain, but is still meaningful. And, you know, we will not have to build railways in Rhone, except to, you know, act as labor saving for rail transportation. We see that transport is still expensive, which means that more throughput even further would still be desirable. You know, I think that this should be readjusted, at least, well, it'll also be better once we get on electric passenger carriages, but, like, if you're talking about having a medium price transportation, on a, like, per pop basis, you need to spend 5,500 employing it in a single railway thing in order to save labor on 6K worth of, like, the rail PM, because it saves 500 a level for using rail transportation. It saves 500 a level, and then, like, is this even bugged out? It shouldn't be minus 1K, but it's 500 a level, and then you could afford. You get a total of 60 transportation if you are on whatever, allowing 12 levels. Anyways, the math, but, like, you know, it's not that impressive on steel passenger carriages and steam trains in terms of saving labor, but would be a little bit better on electric. Okay, so this is fine, and you know, overall the run felt really strong for 1.5. It's important to emphasize 1.5 economies are slower. You know, we would be approaching like a billion GDP pretty soon. We kind of have what we need set up for that. We will have resource problems following that, maybe at like 1.3, 1.5. I think we'll start running out of resources in terms of GDP. For now, we actually do have a decent reserve of like unexploited iron, coal, etc. And these types of things, wood, rubber, all this type of stuff, which in part, and also a lot of oil, which in part is because of the throughput we have on our resource industries, which I think is really good to scale into the late game. we released all the Caucasus, yay. One thing, maybe releasing a lot of the Russian states and going after those would be good for getting resources. Maybe going after Qing, but we want them for pops, so it's a little bit rough. You know, we already have a lot of the pretty resource-dense areas in the world. I mean, we could go after Chile, Argentina, these types of things. But that's for another theoretical run. For now, this run is over. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You know, do the YouTube algorithm thing. And other than that, have a good one.